tow truck away. Hey!
Welcome to my yard. Debogorski, and today we're going to take a tour of some of my collection because I'm sure Nelson's going to play out before we get halfway through it. I have roughly 150 cars, trucks, drag lines, just interesting things. I mean, if you look over here, wood stoves. I collect almost anything.
How's it going?
Oh, picking up the garbage from the grandkids. And this yard, my yard here, I can just walk in a direction and you find work instantly. Just cleaned up the mess from the grandkids over the years. Winter is coming, so I need to get stuff inside before it gets buried in the snow because I'll never find it. And then when I clean snow with a machine, like all these cords get chopped up and turned into trash. So here's a 1937 Pontiac, 4-door. It's a little bit rough. I traded a 57 Pontiac hardtop shell, like a body, no, rolling body, no driveline, for it to my buddy who passed away. And there's still the engine, the driveline supposedly in the shed at his place. But this make a really neat car. It's got it's really solid. I love it. I love this old junk.
That's an old gangster car.
Could be a little late for gangsters. Gangsters are more in the 20s, but I guess in the 30s Capone is still running around. Look at this thing here. You ever seen one of those? Oh, this is called a Mertz. M-E-R-T-Z. It's built in Oklahoma. It's actually street legal. How's that for a all-terrain vehicle that's street legal? Signal lights, headlights. And it used to have right behind the cab up here, up in here there used to be what they call a thumper. So it would thump the ground and send vibrations so it was a system of seismic without using blasting powder. So you thump the ground and the little speakers would pick it up the vibration and they'd figure out whether there's oil and gas there, or diamonds or gold or whatever they're looking for. This thing here, it doesn't articulate, and it crab steers. So front wheels will turn this way, and the back wheels will turn that way, or opposite to make it. So it turns in a pretty tight circle. 471 on the back. A Detroit engine. It drives a hydraulic pump and air. Doesn't have air tanks. The frame is actually an air tank at the back of the engine, and then it hydraulically it's got hydraulics, it's got air, and then it's got mechanical. So it's sort of like right now the only thing I got wrong with it, the transmission air shifts, but there's a reverser that goes forward and backwards, and I haven't figured out how to make. I think the reverser works. I just figured there's a bunch of airlines that are broken. Last time this was on the job, I guess it broke down and got towed back into town.
So you could have a picker on here, or a man lift, or a, what's the idea?
Well, you could put anything on here. Yeah. This, what it was used for last is for ice roads. You put a snow plow on the front, and you just go down the road and you go in the lakes and you plow the lakes, see? So that's what it was used for last. I mean, you can put whatever you want on there. But it's just, it's something it's another project I haven't got to yet. This machine right here is a 1952 tow motor. So it actually ran, I drove it in here. The kids have stuck a bunch of gravel down the exhaust pipe, so gotta clean the intake manifold out, and I really need to start it. I have a fellow interested in it. and old aircraft. And what this was used was at the airports for towing your airplane around in 1952. So it's almost bulletproof. I mean, you got almost half-inch plate on it, and it'll do wheelies. You know, I think a little Continental engine in it, but this one's running. I bought this bus years ago. I was going to camperize it. Of course, never got to that. Of course, the grandkids are going around pitching rocks until they broke the window. So I don't know if I'm going to take this back to the sale or what I'm going to do with that. I mean, I collect just about anything that looks interesting. So you're looking at a bunch of junk motorcycles right here. So what do you see? You see nothing. All you see is a bunch of junk.
Scrap metal.
It's not really that much scrap metal. I mean, anyway, you see a bunch of motorcycles, but you really don't see anything. But there's actually something good in here, eh? Well, some guys might like this old Yamaha, but what's good in here is this old rusty. I don't even know if I can pick these apart. Sunk in the dirt. In here is a Kawasaki 500 two-stroke, which is semi-rare from the late 70s, but very fast. Right there is a three-cylinder two-stroke. It was called a Mach 3, Kawasaki Mach 3. And they had a 500 and a 750, and I think this one was the 500. And I mean, I don't know, it's kind of rusty. It might be worth, it might be fixable the way it is, or it might be good for parts. But not everybody has one. So here's another interesting contraption. This is a John Deere tractor that was modified to be a man car. So this thing would travel underground. The last place it was Treminco Mine down the road. You had to go underground and it'd bring the men to their work sites. So you got the driver, 2 passengers up here, and then you could squeeze in 5, so you probably put 7 or 8 men on this and drive underground. And so they put this on here. Mind you, it doesn't help the guys back there, but they put this on so when they're going underground, the rocks are falling on their heads, at least it'll protect them. Looks like it's mainly for the driver because all the men their heads would be sticking out. This should run. I've had it here for a number of years, another project, but I thought this would be great in the parade downtown in the summertime. I could put my wife up there like Granny Clampett, in a rocking chair.
Who's Granny Clampett?
And then I can put all the
what is that, Beverly Hills?
I can put all the kids and grandkids, and I can probably put 20 people on here.
That's the Beverly Hillbillies.
Fix it all up. But, yeah, an interesting machine. So right here, this is called the Bombardier Bug, and it's called a wide body because they had narrow body orders. A wide body Bombardier Bug, and this was a contractor shaggin' wagon. And they'd go out with a bunch of liquor out in the middle of the lake and take a look. It's all carpeted and shag rug.
It's moss now.
Well, we have a...
It's organic shag.
Yeah, though if you leave shag long enough, it'll start to grow, eh? But if you look at the sides, we've still got a real shag rug in there. So the boys go out on the lake and do a little drinking and driving, because in those days especially, there was nobody really out there to bother them. That could cause them trouble for being in that condition behind the wheel of a vehicle. Of course, nowadays all the snowmobiles and stuff, so we have to make sure to keep an eye on things. What was that? This actually has got a flathead 6 Chrysler in it. The fishermen and the guys that used quite a bit, you'd modify this. See, there's a differential flipped upside down up here. The engine drives the differential drives the tracks. If it's still, I haven't really worked much on this one, if it's still original, the exhaust went in the tracks and it frees the tracks up and cause problems. So when you modify them, you put the exhaust up, you put stacks on it, and Usually you put it, it's got a flathead Dodge engine, which is, I don't know if it'd be lucky to be 80 horsepower or something, because it's probably mid or early 50s. And of course, could use a little new wood. Instead of chrome, they put painted wood on it. And you put in a V8, usually a 318, 360. I think you put a Ford or a Chev in there, but the guys like the 318, the Dodges, because they did have a Dodge engine in them. And what you do is you put a 3/4 ton GM. They use 3/4 ton GM differentials. Put them in there. That's bulletproof to drive. And then there's a few other upgrades. I think they put the fuel tank on top. But you can make these quite a reliable machine that you could travel at 40 below with, and they keep warm. They get lots of power. 1974 Hayes Clipper. Got a 350 Cummins in it, 13 speed. This is aluminum. It's an aluminum frame, and when it was new, it was a winch truck. It's got logging bunks on it now, and I started working on it. Like, all the windows were smashed and the gauges were smashed, but there was another project that got set to the side. It actually ran and drive. It was a working truck before it was vandalized. I got the fifth wheel off, but a guy couldn't make it work again. So this one here, this is an early 60s R190 International. It's got a big V8 engine in it, gas. It's a dump truck. Again, they claimed that this engine was new, but it's been sitting for 25 years. I tidied it up a little bit when I first got it. I put some lights in it that have been smashed. Got the clearance rates. You got a green one and two yellow ones up there. Round, a little different than the newer ones. But the interesting thing about this truck was on the job. I actually worked for this company. I may have driven it back in the 70s, but this truck was called Grandma. And Grandma wasn't always Grandma. So there was another truck like this was a little older. They called it Grandpa. And Grandpa got turned upside down by accident. So they took Grandpa apart. They used the parts from Grandpa to make Grandma. And that's why Grandma's in such good shape, and Grandpa's in the refuse heap. Grandpa's been recycled into Toyotas in Japan, and Grandma's still in one piece here.
Well, grandmas usually live longer than grandpas.
Well, this Grandma lived longer than that Grandpa. You know, the ceiling's coming down, but I had the interior looking pretty good. You know, I think it's got most of the parts are on the dash. You know, the floor's in good shape. You know, the paint's all good. It's actually a pretty clean. The windshield's just about perfect. It's a pretty clean looking truck. The only thing is that the ceiling should be reattached, and you don't have to get it wet and flatten it out and then put it back up again. Either the screws came out, or goodness knows, somebody might have been trying to take it out. We do have people show up in the middle of the night occasionally and decide they need stuff, and they help themselves, and they do a rough job at taking things apart.
Fast road trucker way. Hey.